what's going on YouTube? R to the double E dash to the ZON coming at you once again with the long overdue, long awaited, long promised. I know everybody's been waiting for it, every subscriber's been wanting to see the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom review for that Nintendo Switch. So as I should show off some gameplay of this masterpiece that Nintendo has yet once again brought to the forefront, just wanted to go over all the finer points of the game, whether it comes to graphics, actual gameplay, the new abilities, my comments on the world map, the overall story. Just so you guys know, I have not completed the game yet as far as the story goes, but that only is because I'm just enjoying my time getting lost in this world and taking on every possible side quest and just exploring every nook and cranny of this 3 times bigger than the original Breath of the Wild game. So you guys know I don't have an official number for my hours. I think I am somewhere between the 50 to 70 hour range. I have gone all over the map. I've basically, if I'm not mistaken, I think I'm only missing one tower to activate. I've also gone into the depths and explored vastly there. And of course, you know, the sky is its own thing in this game and its own world to explore. So yeah, man, I mean, it's a lot that Nintendo has crammed into this little cart. I believe the game comes in at a 12.5, I think it is, gigabytes, which is just miraculous when you look at games like, you know, and it's not to slam any game or any company, but when you look at games like, well, hell, one of my favorite franchises, Mortal Kombat. You look at Mortal Kombat 11, that game, with all its DLC and all its add-ons, is around 120 something gigs on my Series X. Call of Duty, we don't even need to talk about that. That's just a tremendously huge game, you know, file size wise. You know, you look at games like Horizon Zero Dawn or the God of War. You know, I mean, it's like Nintendo seems to be the masters of compression. And I know people will be quick to say why. Well, it's easy when you know you don't have the lifelike 4K visuals that these other games do. That is true. 4K files are much bigger than just standard definition or even 1080, you know, 1080p files. But still, the fact that they're able to fit this massive of a world, because I guarantee you, without even playing the actual game, just from everything I know about it, I guarantee you, God of War, the world in that game is nowhere near the size of the world that you're exploring in Tears of the Kingdom. Same goes for Horizon Forbidden West, you know, or any of these other games on other consoles. Um, you know, like even a game like Sea of Thieves, that the open world map and the you know the open world and the more they add to it is huge. It doesn't touch something like even the original Breath of the Wild, let alone Tears of the Kingdom. So the fact that Nintendo is able to fit all these things into a tiny little cart under 13 gigs is just phenomenal. I mean, there's voice acting, there's cinematics, there's the actual gameplay, the dynamic physics engine in this game, which is every bit as good, if not in some ways even more advanced and better than the one that was in Breath of the Wild, that to this day still blows our minds with the stuff we're discovering in that game. I mean, all that fitting in a cart is just a marvelous feat of just technical wizardry. So, I mean, that's as far as you know the optimization of the game goes. Graphically, I mean, I think we can all agree as we look at these graphics. I mean, it is just a beautiful game to behold. It has such a stunning cartoon aesthetic to it, but it's not just cartoon. It's kind of like I said with the original Breath of the Wild. It was like the perfect marriage between Skyward Sword's art style and Twilight Princess's art style. I wouldn't go and put a Wind Waker type of label on this because it's not, you know, as cel shaded heavy as Wind Waker, but it's just a beautiful aesthetic. And when you look at this, look at the vastness of the land that you see. Look at the draw distance. I mean, the graphics are just stunning, man. So yeah, I can see where you know PlayStation fans or even Xbox fans or PC elitists or anything like that are gonna say, well, you know, these aren't, you know, we have 4K visuals at 60 frames per second. First of all, most of you don't. Let's be honest. I mean, even on a very powerful PC like my laptop is powerful. It's running a 3070. I think it's got an 11th gen. If I'm not mistaken, it's an i17 800 something like that. I forget the exact processor, but I have some pretty up to date specs. I mean, I know now they're coming out with the 40 series, but still, my laptop is very powerful. And for me to get, you know, 120 frames, you know, 1080p or 120 frames of 4K is a chore. It's not always something that is easily attainable. So that's number one. And number two, yeah, you may have the lifelike graphics, but I mean, let's just be honest. When we look at a game like, you know, I'll just pick one again, like, you know, again, not trying to pick on any games, but let's look at Horizon Forbidden West. You know, a lot of fans of that game are very salty because Tears of the Kingdom is kicking so much ass and breaking so many records, and it's pretty much got Game of the Year locked, except for maybe the only competitor would probably be Starfield. But a game like Horizon Zero Dawn or Horizon Forbidden West, any one of them, Uh, Beautiful game, beautiful graphical look, beautiful aesthetic, and a nice sized world to explore. But the reason Tears of the Kingdom or even the original Breath of the Wild just demolish it gameplay wise, despite your 60 frames per second and all that, is because the world in Breath of the Wild, the world in Tears of the Kingdom acts like an actual living, breathing world. I mean, in Tears of the Kingdom, I can set the grass on fire and use the updraft, since warm air rises, use the updraft from the burning grass to launch myself into the air, go into slow bullet time, nail an enemy with an arrow, and if that arrow happens to miss, when I land and defeat the enemy, I could pick that arrow up again because that's what you would be able to do in real life, you know. Or if somebody, shoots arrows at me and I have a wooden shield and I block it and it gets stuck in the shield, well, I can just collect the arrows right off my shield like you would in real life. You know, there's so much about the way the world it's alive. The living, breathing world in this game, how it acts and how you interact with it, that just demolishes, gameplay wise anyways, just demolishes any other game out there. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. Horizon Zero Dawn, or Forbidden West, can you go up to a tree, chop it down and turn it into firewood and then use that to, light a campfire where you can cook some ingredients and get some food or some potions to help you on your next side quest? No, everything is pretty much static. Everything is there. You could set a bomb off next to a tree. Just for example, an explosion next to a tree in either God of War or Horizon, and that tree is not going to get busted into splinters, or it's not going to topple over. It's not going to snap or break or even be set on fire. It's just a static piece of the background. You know, you can't even really interact with it unless the game is designed. That section is designed to let you interact with it. Whereas in Tears of the Kingdom, it's all alive, it's all accessible. Anywhere you see, you can go. Anything that you can latch onto, you can climb. It's all interactable. So, I mean, as far as the gameplay goes, man, I mean, the game is just ridiculously deep, and it's one of those games that, like, right now we're what 8 years? No, is it? I'm sorry, we're 6 years, almost 7 years since the original Breath of the Wild launched. People are still discovering new things that you can do and accomplish in that game because of how vast and how expansive the physics engine in that game is. I have a feeling Tears of the Kingdom is going to be a game that we're discovering new things and watching people play, do playthroughs and just discover new things you could build and put together 10 plus years from now. Like I don't have any doubt about that. So, getting away from the gameplay, or actually, I mean, continuing with the gameplay, one of the great things about this game is the new abilities. Now, the abilities in Breath of the Wild, you had your stasis ability for freezing. You had, man, that's the only one that comes to mind because I haven't played Breath of the Wild in a while. But you had your stasis. You had, magnesis, or the magnet one. A couple, and I think two others. Well, here you have, four again, but they're just so incredibly utilized and so usable in ways that just expand the gameplay and just blow your mind every time. For example, you have your ascend ability. So now, stamina, on Breath of the Wild, when you would climb, especially early on in the game when your stamina wheel wasn't that robust, you would run out of stamina rather quickly and you'd fall off a ledge or fall off the side of a cliff that you were trying to climb and fall to your death. And then it was very frustrating and you had to go and complete shrines and all that to get, stamina vessels. Well, you still have to do that here. You have to clear shrines, and you can either get heart containers or stamina vessels. But the stamina is less of an issue because as long as the thing you're trying to climb, as long as you can get under it and there's a roof over your head, 9 times out of 10 you can use that ascend ability to go shoot up right through the actual matter that you're trying to climb and come out on top of it, which just opens up the gameplay dynamic in such a crazy way that you have to rethink and train your brain when you're deciding that you're trying to ascend or get some verticality, get higher up in a level. You really got to retrain your brain to consider what is actually possible now because there's so much more with these abilities. You have the Ultra Hand, which allows you to build pretty much anything, man. You can grab, you can chop. Basic example, you could chop down 3 trees and get the logs from those trees, bind them together with Ultra Hand. Then you can get some, fans like the ones you see right here that I'm using on this glider. You can get those fans and bind them onto the back of the logs. Put the logs with the fans that are binded to them in the water, and you have a raft that can take you across a large body of water, so you don't have to worry about drowning. Running out of stamina halfway through while you're swimming. I mean, you could build so much, man. You could build, mine carts, vehicles of pretty much anything your imagination can think of. So that just opens up the gameplay in ways that no other game really does, man. I mean, I can see now why this game got delayed. I think it was twice it got delayed, and why it took so long. I mean, it was revealed, if I'm not mistaken, back in 2019, and it took us another 4 years to finally have it. Well, it was well worth the wait, man, because you can see the Nintendo, when Nintendo delays a game, there's a reason. They're not delaying it, you know. I'm sure with certain games and certain scenarios, they might delay a game just because they want to bring it out at a later time. Like I think they did that with Pikmin 4 and with a couple other games. But with a game like Zelda or Mario, they delay it. It's for a reason. It's because they're putting in work, and it's going to take more time to put in the kind of work that they want to accomplish what it is that they're trying to accomplish and what they're trying to let the gamer experience. My apologies if you hear my dog barking in the background. I can't stop that little mutt from just barking at every shadow that passes by the door. But anyways, yeah. So like, yeah, just the gameplay, man. As far as the abilities, you have the Ultra Hand. Like I said, you have the Fuse ability, which if you are using your bow and arrow and you cock it back with an arrow, before you release that arrow and shoot it, you're gonna get a menu that pops up if you hold up on the D-pad, and you're gonna see every possible material within your inventory that you can fuse to that arrow, and it will cause the arrow to have different effects. If, for example, if you get an eyeball from one of the keys, one of the bats that you're constantly fighting in this game, and you fuse it to your arrow, then you can just launch the arrow anywhere near the target that you're trying to get, and it'll become a seeker, and it'll literally seek out the target and hit it. If you fuse a puff mushroom to your shield, an enemy will attack you. You use that shield with the puff mushroom on it, and then it will explode with a big cloud of dust, and blinding and stunning your enemy and allowing you to circle around them and get them from the back. So there's just so many different things. You can fuse weapons together. You can fuse things to your shields. You can fuse things to your arrows. I mean, very, very easy and very obvious. Fuse a bomb to your arrow, there's a bomb arrow. You no longer have to, worry about buying and having rupees to buy different types of arrows. No, all you gotta do is buy arrows or find arrows, and then whatever you fuse to those arrows is what they become. So, I mean, it's just incredible, man. So as far as gameplay, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I have to speak on that. I mean, the combat is just as great as it was in Breath of the Wild, as far as the perfect parry, the perfect dodge that allows you to just unleash a flurry on your enemies. The enemies they're a bit more diversified now. It's not just your average bokoblins and Lizalfos and things like that. There's different variations of them now, even more than before. The boss battles are so much more epic now. Because in Twilight Princess, wow, listen to me. In Breath of the Wild, the boss battles, the main boss battles, anyways, were really just different forms of the Calamity Ganon. The Thunder form, the Wind form, or whatever, Fire form. Here, you do have some return to temples, to traditional Zelda temples, not all the way old school traditional style, but very, kind of like a marriage of, the shrines in Breath of the Wild plus some temple elements. So you do have like a sky temple or, a fire temple and things like that. But the boss battles are just epic because the enemies, they kind of go back to those epic enemies you would fight in the older 3D Zelda games. Like, what was it? Gamora, I think, was a spider in Ocarina of Time, and in Dodongo's cavern, I forget his name. I don't know if it was King Dodongo or whatever, but those epic, like, actual specific enemies. You have boss battles like that in this game. You'll see one later on in this footage where I fight this giant like rock spider, which I believe was in the fire temple, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, man, so the boss battles and the combat are the combat is just as good, if not slightly better, and the boss battles are so much better. And the fact that there's temples and things like that. You also have, as you see here, you can see I have two people tagging along with me, these two characters. Those are like the sages. Once you meet them and once you rescue them, from their temple and all that, or you get them, not rescue, but you get them to realize that they're a sage and that's their place in this story and in this whole thing. They basically give you their essence, and their essence travels along with you, and it gives you certain abilities. So like the bird one, I forget his name, but he if you need to get across a far distance gliding, you can use his power while you're gliding in the air with your paraglider, and he'll like just create this gust of wind that'll launch you much farther and faster forward. So you can cross some distances you normally wouldn't be able to. The Goron, his power is that you could literally summon him, and he can literally, like, how Gorons have that rolling attack, and you can use that to break down walls or break certain obstacles in your path, and unlock different paths. So I mean, there's just a lot, man. There's a lot that Nintendo crammed into this. I'm also loving the way they do the memories. You know, like remember in Breath of the Wild, there was the memories you had to find. There were little cinematic beats that would piece the story together for you. They're so much better here. I mean, it's the same concept. You know, you gotta find these tiers of the dragon in different like when you go up into the sky, like high up into the sky, you can look down and you'll see what they call I think it's geoglyphs. And it's basically like kind of like if you were like if you saw like crop circles, kind of like that. It's like a design in the land that you can see from high up. And so when you get there, somewhere within that geoglyph, there's an area that's gonna be like shining like a tear, and then that's how you access the different cinematic beats of the story. I mean, I geeked out so hard the first time I saw the one where Ganondorf is like so-called pledging his allegiance to the King of Hyrule, and you just see how badass Ganondorf's design is. Oh my God, I loved it so much, man. So that I mean that goes without saying. It's not just the graphics, the art style of this game is just sublime. Um, but yeah, man, I mean, it's just an incredible, incredible game. Going on from there, from the gameplay and the graphics, we also have the music. The music this time around is it's very, very Breath of the Wild like. There's certain times where you're out in the field, running around, exploring, trying to see, you know, what you can get into. And since you're out there and it's tranquil and the field is an empty, vast field, you really won't have much music. It'll just be the sounds of nature. And every once in a while there'll just be this little piano riff that'll just like lightly play in the breeze, and it's a beautiful audio cue that happens in the game from time to time. The music during battles, epic as always. So the audio department, we don't really have any complaints there. It's just basically Breath of the Wild all over again. Maybe some improvements in that, but even if there isn't, you didn't really need to change what wasn't broken. Don't fix it if it ain't broke. Um, but I'm just overall blown away by how this game uh, functions and how it plays. I mean, the first time around in Breath of the Wild, you had the entire map of Hyrule, which was just massive. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, open world game ever made. And then in this one, they literally triple it up because you have that exact same map of Hyrule, but you have the skies above Hyrule with a shitload of floating islands and places that you can explore up in the heavens, basically. And then that map of Hyrule, under it is the depths, which is literally the size of the entire map. It's literally underground, under Hyrule. And it's a whole different, dark, ominous, terrifying world down there, and it is massive. And you will find rare and different type of enemies down there and gear down there. I mean, my son was playing it yesterday, and he showed me that he found one of Link's classic tunics down there. And I just lost my mind. I was like, bro, you gotta tell me where to find that because I've been down there and I never found that. So it's just massive. There's rare enemies down there, which is that's kind of a parallel with our actual world. Like if you go right now, like into the depths and depths of the ocean or the Mariana Trench or something like that, you're gonna find weird alien-like creatures you never would see anywhere else. Same thing here. I mean, we went down there. I went down there once and ran into a red, like stony, like armored Lionel, glowing with the gloom, which is this ominous negative energy that's down there. That if it gets on you, it starts to deplete your life. And it not only depletes your life, but if you try to eat to restore it, it depletes the amount of hearts that you can actually get back while restoring your health. So I mean, it's real crazy, man. There's so many different ways to play this game, and so many different avenues, so many different modes, so to speak. If you're playing in the regular Hyrule Field, then it's Breath of the Wild all over again. But even that's different because they've added so much to the map, and it's so much more alive now. There's towns that are actually bustling, and there's a lot more NPCs walking around, and a lot more side quests to get involved with. But if you go in the depths, it's a whole different game. It's a whole different world with a whole new set of rules. And if you're up in the sky, I mean, it's just even like the aesthetic. When you go up into the sky, like if you're looking here, this is a sky island, and you can tell there's a more golden yellowish hue to the grass and the vegetation, and just the overall lighting and atmosphere. And you drop down the Hyrule, and it's all lush and green, or orange and brown canyons and things like that. I mean, here you get a shot of, I believe that's the gate to Ganon's castle, or Hyrule Castle. You can see the Calamity type of energy around it, just like in Breath of the Wild. I mean, it's just a great game to look at, man. Great game to play, and it's just non-stop innovation, non-stop. Like it doesn't stop. It doesn't get old. I mean, it's just there's so much to discover and find. And just by the, I remember in Breath of the Wild, I would get what's the word? Occupied for like a good long while, just coming up with different recipes and cooking stuff. See here, you see me going down into the depths, right there. Hyrule Castle, there's a chasm there. You go right down into the depths, and now look, it's all dark. You gotta activate, like, you know how you activate the towers on the surface. Well, down there you activate these giant light seeds, and they light up, a certain percentage of an area, and that's how you start expanding the map. The light roots, you gotta activate them. So, yeah, man. I mean, yeah, like so in Breath of the Wild, I will get just lost and occupied creating new recipes and seeing what I can come up with cooking. Well, here you do that with cooking, and I think if I'm not mistaken, there's a recipe book. I haven't really messed with that, but there's that. But you can do that with cooking, but you can do that with potions, but you can also do that with what kind of weapons you can fuse together. What can you create? What kind of vehicles or traversal aids can you come up with and can you construct? I mean, it's just, this game more than anything, even way more than Breath of the Wild. And Breath of the Wild was already phenomenal at this, but this game literally tells the gamer there is no set way to solve this puzzle. Or maybe there is a set way that we think you're going to take, but you can literally do whatever you want to get this puzzle solved. You don't have to go from point A to point B. You don't have to do it the way the programmers or the developers intended you to do it. If you can come up with something in your imagination with that fuse power and the Ultra Hand and all your abilities you have here, you can make it happen. You can solve the shrine that way. You can get to the end of it that way, in a way that you were never intended to. That's what makes games like this so fucking real, because it's like it's like life, man. In life, there's not one way to do something. There's, hundreds of different ways. Like Freddy said in Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Or no, he said, "Have you ever played Skin the Cat?" But the expression, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more one way to unwrap a present, bro. There's more than one way to solve the puzzles in this game, which makes it so much more lifelike and so much more real and interactive and immersive. So, I mean, yeah, bro. I mean, everything from the art style, the graphics, the music, the characters, man, the cinematics, the voice acting, all of it just comes together in this beautiful, perfectly wrapped package by Nintendo. I mean, it's like I said, it's clear why they delayed it. That time was put to amazing use, because had they not delayed it, we probably wouldn't have gotten some of these. I don't want to say some of these abilities, but some of these parts of the game, some of these design choices that allow you to just be so open in the style of game that you want to play and how you want to approach this adventure. I mean, every time you turn on this game, every time you venture out into Hyrule Field or take to the skies or plummet down into the depths, it's literally a brand new adventure, and you literally have every single factor of control of how you want to tackle that adventure. You want to be stealthy, you could be stealthy. You want to be freaking balls to the wall, going there, sword swinging, guns blazing, you can. You want to be more tactical, set up traps, you can. I mean, it's so, I mean, it's so intricate, man, and it's unbelievable that it plays as good as it does on the Switch. I mean, we've said it, ad nauseum, especially me on this channel. I love my Nintendo Switch. It is one of the greatest consoles of all time, hands down. But it is, especially at this point in time, severely underpowered. And it's time for its successor to take over and to be revealed and all that. Yet, games like this work flawlessly. I had very little to no frame drops while playing this game. Uh, no, like no obscene, crazy clipping or anything of that nature, or falling through floors, or like no glitches. I mean, I'm sure there's a bug here and there, like like there was in Breath of the Wild. I think there's been a couple like multiplication of bugs here where you can just multiply items like that and farm items and spam that. But Nintendo, is always gonna circumvent that through patches. But there's no real bugs to speak of in this game. There's no real glaring error. There's no, oh my god, we need a patch day one ASAP because a frame rate, or there's a part that crashes the game. I mean that goes without saying. You guys know Nintendo, especially when it comes to their first party franchises, are extremely meticulous about how they put that product out there. So a Nintendo first party IP, a Nintendo first party release is guaranteed, at the very least, it's guaranteed to be an extremely well made and solid game. Whether you like the game, whether you like the graphics, whether you know are a fan of it or not, that's a whole different story. But their games and their programming, their development time is put to such good use that it's always pretty much flawless. And here's what I was talking about. Look at this boss battle. Look at this enemy. It's like a giant stone, like rocky, like crab slash spider, and you gotta fight it, and you gotta fight it using your abilities. Like you gotta use the recall ability, which is another ability that rewinds an object's trajectory. So like if a rock falls from the sky, you can literally just use the recall ability on it, and it'll send that rock back to where it came from. So when this enemy launches boulders at me, I literally just recall them right back at it, and it smacks him, which is just, you know, it's incredible. Like the way that the way these battles were thought out, and how the gamer is to experience it, man. It's just kudos to Nintendo, man. I mean, they once again they've shown the world how to make an open air, open world game the right way and make it feel extremely open but extremely accessible. I mean, it is so massive and there's so much to do, but it's also like the core principles of the gameplay are so simplistic that it doesn't overwhelm anybody. I don't think anybody will get overwhelmed by this game, even though the amount of things to do and explore and the amount of directions you can go in is overwhelming. You're just gonna go pick a direction, go, and the game will just start unfolding. The adventure will just start unfolding, and you'll just, you know, start experimenting with different things. And you know, I mean, you'll be fighting against you know, a squad of bokoblins, and one of them will shoot an arrow, like a fire arrow at you, and you'll dodge it, but you'll see that when the fire ignites on the grass, you'll see wind blowing upwards. And then you, oh, what's that? And you'll jump on that and use your paraglider, and you'll launch up into the air. And you start discovering all these things about the way the physics engine in the game uh, amplifies the gameplay. So I mean, it's just an incredible achievement, man. So I mean, I really have nothing else really to say. If you guys want a number rating, it's a 10 out of 10. Let's be fucking honest here. Come on. If you want a star rating and 5 stars is the best, it's 17 stars. I mean, it's like, come on, man. It's really that good. That's no hyperbole. There's no exaggeration. That's not any Nintendo dick riding or fanboying. It's just I've looked and I've looked very closely, and if I haven't played them, I've seen enough gameplay footage and seen enough walkthroughs and playthroughs of all the big games from every console. And honestly, bro, there's not one that holds a candle to Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. Like it doesn't even come close. The only one, like I said, now that isn't even released yet, it comes out in September, would be Starfield. If Starfield hits and delivers on everything Microsoft showed off in that Microsoft Starfield Direct, then you know the Tears of the Kingdom will have some serious competition for Game of the Year. I mean, I'm telling you right now, as much as I love this game and as much as this is a Tears of the Kingdom review, if Starfield delivers on all of the stuff they showed, they're gonna win Game of the Year. I mean, I just and it'll be awesome, but it'll also be a shame because it's like, man, Breath of the Wild won Game of the Year, and this is so much better than Breath of the Wild. It's just not even funny. Like I Breath of the Wild is a masterpiece, but it's gonna be hard to go back to it anytime I want to revisit it because this game exists. You know, because this game is Breath of the Wild done so much better. It's almost as if, like, you know, a lot of reviewers have said this in their reviews, and I'm just gonna piggyback off of it because it's absolutely 100% accurate. It's as if Nintendo was using Breath of the Wild as the tech demo to what Tears of the Kingdom was gonna be. Kind of like they did with the Wii U. The Wii U was basically the beta and the tech demo of what they originally, what they eventually wanted the Switch to be. And it's just like that with Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was like the experiment. It was the beta. It was fucking phenomenal. I called it, and still do to this day. I mean, now I think it's Tears of the Kingdom, but I called it, you know, when it launched and when I played it and enjoyed it for those almost 7 years, the greatest game of all time. And it was the tech demo. Like now you have the actual product, the actual game they wanted you to experience, and it just blows Breath of the Wild away, man. I mean, it's ridiculous. So yeah, man. I mean, I think, you know, like I said, bro, I mean, there's not much more to say. It's just a phenomenal experience. And this is coming from someone who's played, you know, anywhere between 50 and 70 hours and still hasn't even gotten close to completing the story because I'm really just going in on this one and just enjoying my time with it and enjoying my time in that world. You know, with the original Breath of the Wild, I started with that, but within a week or so of playing the game, I was like, all right, I want to get through the story. I want to see what happens. And I, you know, kind of like blasted through it and then came back and enjoyed it through, you know, subsequent replays. With this one, I'm like, bro, what's the hurry, bro? I'm just gonna enjoy this from beginning to end, take my time with it. This game may actually take me all year to beat, as far as the story and I never really 100% these games because that's just ridiculous. I like who has the time for that. But like as far as completing the story and completing a, not 100%, maybe like 60 to 80% of it, that might take me the rest of the year because I'm just enjoying my time with it and just going everywhere, exploring everything, man. Also, to be honest, I haven't played it in the last like I want to say 2 weeks, because my children were in town. My oldest son is still here until the end of summer, so spending time with him and the family and all that, and I haven't really been playing it. Plus, I've been getting crazy into emulation on my laptop, trying to get basically every console I can up and running on it. But yeah, man. I mean, just because I haven't played it in 2 weeks doesn't mean I'm not going back to it. Like I'm like watching this footage right now, and I'm fiending to just go grab my Switch from my kid, what he's playing right now. So here you see me doing the recall ability on this rock that just fell out of the sky, and then take it. And it's basically you basically just created your own elevator to go right back up to where this rock began its descent. And it might take you up to a new island to explore in the sky. It may take you, you know, God knows where. Or it might just take you up into the sky and there's no island there, but then you get to jump off of it before it falls again, and then you get to glide for a much further distance, and you can see so much more of the overworld and decide what direction you want to trek off in. So I mean, it's just incredible, man. Not much more needs to be said, man. I think I'm gonna cut the review here. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I know it's been long overdue. I was promising you guys this video for what seems like months, basically. Yeah, basically since like the first or second week the game was out, I was like, yeah, I'm working on the review, which I was, but there's things in life come, man. My family always comes first, and my kids are here, so it was taking them to Universal Studios and Orlando and all that, and just having fun with them. But yeah, man, I mean, it's finally here. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I took a lot of time, capturing this footage. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was almost 7 hours of gameplay footage that I captured from various parts of the game. So what you're seeing here is just the edited version of what I wanted to splice together and show you guys, just so you could see some some diverse backdrops and locales and different abilities and boss fights and all that. So, but yeah, man. I mean, so that's it for this video. The next video will be most likely I'll be giving you part two of the top 20 N64 games of all time. The next 5 games. Um, Unless something else comes to mind and I feel like doing something different. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it, man. God bless y'all. Stay gaming. It's the R to the double. Y'all in trouble. Peace.